Today we're doing something a bit different. Listicles and clickbait have become part of the modern day internet, there's no avoiding that. Whilst I'm not going to start posting YouTube icons of me making a shocked face over bright infographics, I thought something a little bit more upbeat might go down well after last month's episode. People like to romanticise the internet of old as a lawless wild west of unbridled creativity, a place where the lack of rules, but more importantly, the lack of legacy, led to a huge variety of content as people strove to make their mark and form their niche. It's a nice idea, and it appeals to our sense of nostalgia for a time that we perhaps remember with rose-tinted glasses, but that doesn't mean that the modern internet doesn't have its own fair share of weird and wild content. I'm Nicodemus Walker. This is The Taste of Static. Happy Halloween. If you have any interest in internet mysteries or horror at all, then this one's likely not new to you. Liminal spaces are a strange and elusive experience, preying on some of our deepest and most primal fears. The fear of the strange, the fear of being alone, the fear of darkness, the fear of over or under stimulation. In the past, these fears would have been explored in caves, woods, desolate villages, but with the new world comes new horror. Liminal spaces are a world of endless corridors, fluorescent lighting, stained carpets and corporate furniture. A world we have seen in large offices, dentists, factories, universities. A cold, lifeless world that is intended for large numbers of people to pass through without giving their surroundings a second thought. It is only when we enter these spaces alone, when we enter them unwillingly, and when we cannot find the exit, that the true horror sinks in. This is a relatively new phenomenon on the internet, or so people believe, but these ideas go back a long time. These photos and videos, now joined by a series of written fiction and video games, are often referred to as liminal spaces, but in my opinion, the feeling of unease that these create have far more to do with a combination of uncanniness and agoraphobia. These are spaces we are used to seeing, used to inhabiting, but we're not used to being there alone. We're not used to seeing them empty. Once you remove the people, once you are left alone beneath the hum of the fluorescent lights and the sounds of your footsteps echoing down the corridors, they seem gargantuan. There's also a sense of corrosion and decay in many of these images. The carpets are worn from use, the surfaces stained and smeared. It reminds me of a series of photos that did the rounds a decade or so ago of abandoned Soviet amusement parks. Everything is strange, everything is creepy, everything is somehow off from our expectations. These are spaces and situations we recognise, just wrong, empty, void. We know that the human brain thrives on pattern recognition. Knowing the difference between something that is safe and something that only looks safe can be huge, especially when a common technique of predators is to appear as safe as possible. Maybe that is what makes exploration into liminal space so powerful, the aura of faux safety, the sense of something incorrect, the threat of a wolf in sheep's clothing. In terms of internet communities, one of the strangest has to be mukbang. Mukbang, for those of you who don't know, consists of watching someone eat. A lot. Starting in Korea sometime around 2010, hosts consume massive amounts of food for an audience that watch either via live stream or on recorded video. Sometimes they are talkative and present the show. Sometimes they just sit in silence and eat. Sometimes it's cheap fast food. Sometimes it's lovingly prepared gourmet meals. That would be enough for mukbang to earn a spot on the list on its own, if not for Kate Yupp. Starting in March of 2018, Miss Yupp ate huge proportions of food for her YouTube audience. It was theorised early on by viewers that she might be someone with a career that placed her within the public eye, since she strived to maintain anonymity. In her videos, Kate wears a mask and has almost no social media presence with which to promote herself. Her final video to date was uploaded in October of 2019, and involves her devouring masses of seafood whilst searing pork brains in a waffle iron and eating them too. Bizarrely, this is potentially not the most horrendous part of the story. In a video published June 21st, 2019, viewers began to notice things that suggested possibly things weren't quite right. Kate had a series of bruises visible along one arm in a position that correlated with the same places social workers look for bruising on at-risk children. Later in the video, it appears she has injuries to her face and a busted lip. Whilst inconsistent capitalization was not uncommon in her videos, in one subtitle, Kate capitalizes the letters SOS. Others claimed that at one stage, she taps a bowl of dipping sauce in a pattern that spells out a cry for help in Morse code. Reddit threads began to theorise, and her videos were flooded with comments reaching out in concern. People tried to track her down, but with very little to go on, nobody was able to confirm her true identity, let alone get in touch. Is this a simple story blown out of proportion? Or was Kate Yupp in danger when these videos were made? Whilst sites use search engine optimization to advertise their services, the internet has always run on word of mouth. Friends tell each other about websites they've been to, videos they've seen, and apps that are available. One website, however, may take this to a whole new level. ScreamingZahir.com is something between a website, a game, and a maze. The front page contains a vague warning of the content deeper in the site, but the text is vague. Moving onward, the pages become a labyrinth. Links go nowhere, others spread far and wide and take you to places you were not expecting, all telling the tale of the Screaming Zahir, an object of obsession. The deeper you go, the more winding the path seemed to become, and as I explored, just as I felt I was beginning to get a grasp of the shape of things, I would suddenly uncover strange new areas. The world created here feels deep, broad, immersive. There are themes and ideas that come back again and again in different ways, but their relevance, both to one another or to some overarching theme, is impossible to decipher. Crows appear often, as do skulls, which initially made me think Screaming Zahir was perhaps some metaphor for death. But then I began to notice common references to bronze, oceans, to clocks. It's nothing particularly frightening, but something about this whole website really stuck with me. At night I found myself laying awake and thinking about it, wondering if there was a route I hadn't taken, any text I'd missed. It seemed as though I could not reach the website, everything. I couldn't get to everything. I was working to a deadline and had lots of other things to explore for this episode, but The Screamings Are Here really captivated my attention. If there's one series that really inspires me to make content, it's Local 58. Local 58 is ostensibly a public access television channel broadcasting from Mason County, West Virginia, but numerous signal hijackings or strange events have occurred for decades on its bandwidth. The videos, the work of cartoonist and podcaster Chris Straub, have a common stylistic quality but are generally very different. The sense of dread and horror they exude is varying, but each prey on the concept of something terrifying and huge examined through the lens of a very local television channel. This juxtaposition leaves the viewer feeling as though the threat is unimaginable, and yet they are only being exposed to a small fraction of what is there. Videos explore the horror of outside forces attempting to manipulate the viewer into looking at the night sky. A car's GPS navigation system leading the owner of the vehicle to a hungry, predatory force, and a cosmic event with terrifying and perhaps hypnotic powers over those who view it. The video titled Contingency is, in my opinion, arguably the best piece of horror fiction on the internet. To discuss it any further detracts from the impact, but I urge you to go and watch it. I contemplated leaving this one out because there are some similarities with Local 58, but I love this series far too much for it not to earn its place on the list. Gemini Home Entertainment presents as a collection of media released through the eponymous production company. Topics initially appear to vary wildly, but when viewed as a whole, there is a deeper, more complex story presented. The horror here works well because it is, at times, unsettling and vague, and others in your face and violent. The backdrop of an 80s and 90s VCR anthology series allows its creator, Remy Adobe, to depict a broad range of ideas while still allowing the horror to shine through. Much like in Local 58, the moon and horrors in nature form a central theme of this work. Very little else on the internet works as well as a Halloween marathon as the entirety of this channel viewed in one sitting. Now, I know I've already covered this one, but I had to come back to it again because whilst I'm editing this video together, I can't stop thinking about The Screamings Are Here. I've started to think the website's actually changing over time. There are routes I've taken through the maze to The Screamings Are Here that I know are different now. I'm certain the pages are being added, some of them are being taken away, and I've always been a huge fan of living content experiences, things that are dynamic and reactive and grow with the viewer. It might sound ridiculous, but I really feel like there's part of me within The Screamings Are Here. I don't even know if the insect, bug, parasite thing we see at the end is The Screamings Are Here, or the maze of pages themselves are The Screamings Are Here, but I feel like I'm part of The Screamings Are Here. If you've not checked it out already, I strongly urge you to stop this video for a moment and go explore right now. I don't even care if you come back, that's how obsessed I am with this content. Please go over there now and access The Screamings Are Here. As of a few days ago, the ARG Reddit page has been discussing it and people are just as obsessed as I am. It's only a matter of time before the website has a Reddit of its own. I cannot stop thinking about this website, but I'm sure you're bored of hearing about it now, though you wouldn't be if you'd visited the page. Art is always going to be divisive. The discussion of what constitutes art and what art has value is a trite enough debate that I'm not going to go into it here. But one of the most fascinating examples of art, in my opinion, is known as endurance art, a genre that seems to have arisen in the 1970s. Endurance art is all about the human body, mind, and spirit's capacity to, well, endure. Boredom, pain, adverse conditions. Endurance art expertly taps into our human ability to empathise. It stands, perhaps, as a response to the trite complaints level against modern art. A 5-year-old could have done that. Where's the skill required to produce that? What is that supposed to even be? It is art boiled down to simplistics, to a physical act that we can appreciate as unpleasant. I could not compete against an athlete. I could not endure Sitting and Smiling. Sitting and Smiling is a series of pieces by artist Benjamin Bennett. In each, Bennett sits on the floor of his home and smiles at the camera for 4 hours. There are currently 318 episodes uploaded to his channel. 318. Bennett sat and smiled for a combined total of 1,272 hours. It's eerie to watch. Much like the liminal spaces, there is something deeply disconcerting about seeing a human being in this state, their humanity and relatability stripped back. In this, Bennett takes on this aura of semi-humanity. He has reported that he receives emails asking about why he does it, but argues that such questions are not applicable to this sort of activity. When there are so many hours of nothing, on the very occasional instance that there is a change or activity unexpected, this becomes even more horrifying. Very early on in the process, Bennett was interrupted during his recording.
Hello?
At other times, Bennett has lost control of his bladder. At others, he has lost his composure and begun crying. When these events occur, their starkness gives them a weight and depth that is uncomfortable to watch, whilst also highlighting the unnatural atmosphere of all the times in which they are not happy. I just can't stop. I know this is it's a shitty top 10 list, but I keep visiting the damn website and it's like a drug. I don't feel fulfilled unless I spend more time there or think about it more. You're not going to even understand this. There are themes that run below it that are so complex and clever and deep. I know I've said I've given up on this thing as an allegory for death, but now I look back and feel embarrassed. Not even embarrassed, like ashamed. Ashamed that I could have been so stupid. The Screamings Are Here isn't about death. It's far more nuanced than that. So far as I can tell, nobody's actually even seen the whole thing, and stuff gets taken down and put up so regularly that even if you could map it properly, I'm starting to think it might even be more than one website. Like it might be spread over other websites. And just when I think I'm getting somewhere, then it's all shift around because the routes won't be the same anymore. So I've stopped trying to move through it that way because I'm pretty sure most of the content can't even be got to following the paths. It says at the beginning you can jump. It didn't used to say that, by the way, but now it says you can jump. It's not even just one maze linking everything together. It's mazes, under mazes, under mazes, and a lot of them can only be got to by guessing the URL code words. They, like I say, they even tell you that at the beginning now, and I've ignored it for days because it didn't fit in with my idea of what this thing is supposed to be. I started mapping it on paper because I can't rely on the website not to change. Who has the time to do this? There are these reoccurring characters or characters that might be reoccurring that I didn't even realise were supposed to be the same people. There's in one of them there's this skull, this animal skull, and there's these sisters who live inside the skull. They kind of make up the eye sockets. It makes more sense if you're there. And I'm like now 90% sure those are the same sisters who live in the sand in the mental part of the maze. And the only way that you know that is if you look at how they talk to each other. Like, it doesn't spell it out. There's no like explicit telling you of that. It's just little nuances like that. So when I'm not thinking about it, I get itchy, like itchy in your scalp, like someone else's. When someone's talking about their kid getting lice, I feel like this tickling on the back of my head, like under my hair, under my skin, inside. Probably not going to upload this voiceover, to be fair, so I don't know. Maybe talking about it will help. Maybe more people going will help. So just do me a favour, go play the game. It's not a game. Go do whatever it is. Explore, find routes, guess URL codes and leap around. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something that makes it all stop. Maybe you can just... I'm starting to think that the goal, it talks about the goal a lot, the goal that you're trying to get to, and I presumed it was the horrendous parasite thing, but maybe it's not. Maybe there's more. I don't even know if the Screaming Zahir is the parasite or it's the whole thing, because that's what the website's called, obviously, but just go there. I'm Nicodemus Walker. This is The Taste of Static. Follow me on Twitter for insights into episodes as they happen. If you wish to provide support, I now have a Patreon at www.patreon.com/thetasteofstatic. Patrons receive a number of benefits, including early access, additional content, and the opportunity to vote on which stories get covered. Finally, subscribe to this channel for more glimpses into urban legends, myths, lost media, hoaxes, and little-known stories from the more esoteric corners of the internet. I'll be back next month. Peace.